Okay, so what we have here today is a 2018 Honda Pioneer 1000-5 EPS, and the symptom is that the winch doesn't work anymore. We've already removed the winch rope because we did a little diagnostics, but if you can see in here, what lets you engage and disengage is free spinning. So something's broken there. That's the original worn winch on it, like a 4,500 or 5,000 pound worn winch. So we're going to change it out for a Harbor Freight Badlands winch, and we're going to walk through this. So from the original winch install, I kind of remember that basically have to take off the front clip, front bumper on this, which isn't too bad. As you can see, there's a couple bolts up here where the this will slide out, and then there's a couple bolts at the bottom. I think these are 12s. I think these are 14s, which is kind of an odd size, but really hope in this I'm able to reuse a lot of the wiring that I have because there's nothing wrong with it, and I don't feel like feeding wire up through this thing. So we'll get some tools out here and get into this. So one of my favorite tools DeWalt brushless Atomic 3/8 drive. Actually, one of my favorite tools. Definitely saves my knuckles and my back. So those are out on this side. We'll get them out on the other side. Okay, we got those small bolts on the top out on both sides. Break this loose. This is the 14 millimeter on the bottom of the bumper. Short little guy there compared to the others. What I like about these DeWalt wrenches is you can use them a little bit as a ratchet until you can press a button and save yourself a lot of work. So there, we'll be able to get this thing off now maybe. So to get the winch out, we're going to have to take off where the plastic ties in here. That's going to keep us from taking the entire side plastic with us when we pull that out. So that's free. So now we should be able to wiggle everything loose here, and we can get into our winch. So with the winch laying up kind of on its side here, the bumper up on its side, you can see gotta detach the wiring from it, which in this particular case the ground is in a pretty rough spot there, so we're gonna have to get a ratchet wrench on that, get that one off, and then we're freed up to work on the winch end. So now that the winch and the bumper are out, I could show you what the problem was. You can see in here on these worn winches the free spool turn isn't engaging. The motor would run, so hopefully we can rehabilitate this thing, maybe sell it on Marketplace or something, but for the moment this thing's coming out and we're going to get a brand new one in place. On the new winch, again, we're going to try to reuse a lot of what we have here, but you can see it comes with a switch for the dash, which is nice, new terminal wires, new bolts, and we may be using those because they might be different than the prior winch plate, which I will absolutely repurpose for something else. And then get into the guts of it here, the remote, some more terminal wires, relay, and then this cute little Badlands winch. I don't care much for cable winches. I prefer soft shackles and soft tow ropes. So you can see over there is the one that came off the old one, so I'll be putting that on it, and that's what my Fairlead's for. But pretty exciting stuff here so far. Now, holding this up here, the first thing that becomes apparent is that this winch is got different holes that go through the winch plate, and so we'll have to re-drill those for this particular model. I don't see any other options here, but let's get the other one off and we can see what we're working with. and out she comes. So the good news is the new winch will fit, and fit just about perfectly. Just have to address the fact that we don't have any holes that match up with the prior winch. So a little bit of drill time, probably some issues marking holes. Maybe we got a pattern in here somewhere. If not, we will improvise and adapt. I was hoping the old one had, or the new one had some sort of a template, and it absolutely does. It's called "This plate is good for various sizes." So this is the size we need. Go ahead and mark those. Probably some painful drilling in our future, but we'll know where the holes are supposed to go. Okay, you can see that I've got the holes drilled, and then I use a step bit. The holes a little bit more user-friendly. And I noticed here a minute ago that this, when the winch went in, it was touching this bracket, this support here, and so I had to shave a little bit off of that. I don't think it's going to change the structure or integrity much, but if everything's successful, we will be able to secure this winch with the bolts provided. Looks like everything lines up good, and then we'll be mostly done with this part. And while it's convenient here, as I said, I'm going to install the winch rope that was on it before, which again I like the softer. A little less dangerous if they were to break, and certainly you don't get as many splinters in your hands. So next step is I'm going to take this off so to make everything from this point easier. And I'll tell you, any of this stuff you can do while you have it accessible. It's an absolute godsend versus reaching underneath of a vehicle and trying to do these same activities. Like that right there, if you crawl on your hands and knees, bust your knuckles, will not make for a good day. So, as a matter of fact, once we get this bolted up, we're going to feed the other one through and get it secured while we have access to this. And just a shout out to Badlands for being absolute legends for having the backside of those tapped and not having to have a backing nut on that will move on you and fall out of there and make you use words you shouldn't use on Sunday, and just in general be a pain in the butt. So these are pretty stout, plate stout. Get this hooked up and we'll feed some rope through the front and we'll figure out how this goes back on here. So definitely while you have access to this back here, because again, underneath here, not a lot of room to work, hook on your new winch rope. We're good there. And now it's just reassembly. You can see one good feature is none of these wires are coming close to any of the steel around it. So I think that's great. I love the self-tapping on the winch itself. We'll get this thing on here and we'll get some power to it. You can see I lifted the bumper back onto its slides. You can see those up here. Now it's just a matter of getting everything nice and tight. Seeing how the bolt holes, that whole hole lines up. These probably need bump back just a touch, and we'll get those bumps. We'll get that bump forward, and we'll get those bolts in there, and including these plastic ones. Don't forget those, and we should be in good shape. As you can see, pre-planned putting the old rope back on off my other winch because I just bought it and like it a lot better. And I do this cable stuff that I'll repurpose for something for boat docks or something along those lines. But reusing the electronics currently, I am going to switch over to the Badlands buttons and such, but that'll probably be for another video. So I have to admit, I like this new winch's engagement a little better. You see the free spool and lock, a little easier for me to get into here than the old one, and we're going to diagnose that here a little later. But we want this in lock, so we can see if this is going to work. Here we are reusing the original winch. Sounds pretty good. I'm going to unwind this and get the rest of that on there, and we'll be finishing this job up. And there you have it. We're back working. Winch works fine. I've got a lot of parts left over that I'm going to repurpose. I'm going to tear into that winch and figure out why the engager. Hopefully it's just a shear key or something. Again, kind of sad, but it was 8 years old. Been a pretty good winch. We probably abused it pretty hard there at the end. So a little under 90 minutes, and we're back running with the winch working again. Thank you so much.